I am a woman, I'm a partner, I'm a wife, I am a mother, I'm a friend, I'm a person in long-term recovery, a counselor. I'm creative. I knew Out in the Mountains existed, but I didn't start going to Out in the Mountains personally until actually that's not true. I think I went to one or two events. At the time I was married and had kids, and so part of this was also, I was out to my husband, but I'd always been involved, but everybody thought of me as an ally. And at the time, allies weren't as welcome to Out in the Mountains as members of the community. Mm-hmm. So, or at least that's what it felt like at the time. And so after my marriage ended and I divorced my husband, and kind of that relationship was ending, that was when I got more involved in Out in the Mountains. So I knew all the people in Out in the Mountains, but they always thought of me as an ally, and I was not, I was out to whom I felt comfortable with. I had 2 young children. It's like I wanted to be safe. And so when, and then God brought a woman into my life when I was going, now I'm married. I was actually the first, my wife and I were the first, if you Google first same-sex couple in Jackson County, North Carolina, you'll see our wedding video. It was such a precious day because Julie and I were just showing up. I had asked to get off work that day or that morning because it just went through, the amendment just went through in North Carolina the Friday at like 5:30. So there was no way anybody could get married when it finally got passed and went through. So Monday morning was the first time that anybody could get legally married in North Carolina. And so Julia and I both asked off for that morning because we were going to show up at the Register of Deeds at least to get the paperwork in place. We weren't sure we were going to actually do it because we'd already been married at St. David's, but we were going to get the legal paperwork in place so that our marriage would be recognized. And so we show up at the Clerk of Courts, and it's so funny because Mr. I think Joe Hamilton, who's the Clerk of Courts, he was there that day. But we showed up at the Clerk of Courts first thing in the morning, and Dottie and Jane were there, and and we walk in there, and they're like, they came to our commitment ceremony, and they were there. Oh, Julia, you get to be first. You get to be first. And we're like, what are you talking about? Because we were just connecting, and they had been married, but their marriage was not, they were afraid their marriage wasn't going to be recognized as valid because it was in another state. And so the person from the Clerk of Court said, no, you can't get married in North Carolina because that would be polygamy and that's against the law, so you're already married. And so their marriage was already signed, sealed, delivered. So they had prearranged to have someone from the Silva Herald and the pastor, Rosemary Peak, who's a wonderful ally and advocate, and they were all showing up at the Clerk of Courts. So we well, do you want to get married? And we're like, okay. So we did. And then the coolest thing is that Rosemary was a Lutheran pastor. And I was born and raised Lutheran. So to have the Lutheran vows was just precious to me because that was my faith growing up as a child. And so then, but that was the first time we met her. So that video, and after we got married with the service, that was the first time we met Rosemary. And then afterward, we were just talking randomly, and then they were just sharing about, just hearing their story about being at Stonewall and not ever even, it just was like, what a precious piece of history that just to me shows what a kind of place Jackson County is. And actually, I think there's another piece of history in the, I don't know if it's still there, but the Equality Campaign of North Carolina for marriage equality. There was a campaign for marriage equality and people would get married for equality. And so when Julia and I were married in 2008, we were the first couple in the Equality Foundation of North Carolina to pledge to have donations that in lieu of gifts, we asked for people to donate for marriage equality so that our marriage could be recognized. And we were the first couple. So we were like, yes, sir, we are the first couple, Western North Carolina, not the whole, it wasn't Raleigh, it was Western North Carolina, and we wanted the whole state to donate money so that we could have marriage equality, and we lived to see the day that actually happened way sooner than we thought it would, which was super cool, especially after that amendment passed. That was just such a disheartening moment. There was an LGBT community in rural Shippensburg that was people. Everybody thinks that gay people are only in cities, and it's just like that seemed to be the belief that that's where all But it's like those of us that identify as something other than heterosexual. I mean, we like rural living too. You know what I mean?